The Santa Monica breeze carried the scent of jasmine through our third-floor apartment, but tonight it felt suffocating. I had returned early from my business trip to Portland, eager to surprise Michael after 3 weeks apart. The flight had been delayed, landing me at LAX at nearly midnight, but the thought of slipping into bed beside him had kept me energized during the long Uber ride home. Our building's elevator hummed its familiar tune as I ascended to the third floor, my heels clicking softly against the marble lobby floor. The hallway was dimly lit by those amber sconces Michael had insisted on installing last year, casting long shadows that danced with each step I took toward apartment 3B. I fumbled with my keys at the door, trying to be quiet. The lock turned with its usual soft click, and I stepped inside, immediately noticing the living room bathed in candlelight. Wine glasses sat on the coffee table, 2 of them. My heart did a small flutter. Had Michael prepared a romantic evening, somehow knowing I'd return tonight? But then I heard it, a woman's laugh, soft and intimate, drifting from the direction of our bedroom. My stomach dropped like a stone thrown into deep water. I set my suitcase down, carefully, my hands trembling as I slipped off my heels, leaving them by the door. The hardwood floor felt cold against my stockinged feet as I moved toward the sound. Each step seemed to echo in my chest, matching the rapid beating of my heart. The hallway stretched before me like a tunnel, and at its end, I could see our bedroom door was ajar, warm light spilling into the darkness. I pressed myself against the wall, my breathing shallow. Through the crack in the door, I could see the edge of our bed, the white sheets rumpled. Michael's voice, low and tender in a way I hadn't heard in months, murmured something I couldn't quite make out. "Are you sure she won't be back tonight?" the woman asked. Her voice was younger than mine, with that slight upturn that some California girls never lose, even in their 20s. "Not until Thursday," Michael replied, and I felt my world tilt sideways. Thursday. That was my original return date. She's always so predictable with her schedule. I closed my eyes, leaning harder against the wall. The jasmine scent from outside, now, mixed with an unfamiliar perfume, something expensive and floral that definitely wasn't mine. My stomach churned as reality began to settle in like fog rolling in from the Pacific. "I hate this, Michael," the woman continued, her voice taking on a petulant tone. "Sneaking around, pretending we're just colleagues when we're at the office. When are you going to tell her?" There was a pause, the kind that stretches time into an eternity. I held my breath, waiting for his answer, though part of me already knew what it would be. "It's complicated, Sophia," he said finally. "We've been together for 8 years. There are finances, the apartment lease, her family thinks it's just not that simple." Sophia. I knew that name. She was the new marketing coordinator at his firm, fresh out of UCLA with her bright smile and Instagram-perfect life. I had met her at the company Christmas party just 4 months ago. She had complimented my dress and asked about my work in graphic design with such genuine interest that I had actually liked her. "But you love me," she said, and it wasn't a question. It was a statement delivered with the confidence of someone who had never doubted her place in the world. The silence that followed felt like it lasted hours. I pressed my palm against my mouth, afraid that any sound might escape and reveal my presence. Through the gap in the door, I could see Michael's silhouette as he sat up in bed, running his hands through his dark hair, a gesture I knew meant he was thinking, weighing his words. "I do," he said finally, and those 2 words hit me like a physical blow. But love doesn't solve everything, sophomore. There are practical considerations. Practical. Her voice rose slightly, then dropped back to a whisper. "Michael, I'm 26. I can't wait forever for you to figure out your practical considerations. Other men want to be with me, openly, without all the secrecy." I heard the rustling of sheets, the soft sound of skin against skin. "Don't!" Michael's voice was pleading now. "Don't talk about other men. You know how that makes me feel." "Then do something about it," Sophia replied, her voice softer now, more seductive. Choose me, Michael. Really choose me. The balcony door in our bedroom was half open. I could tell from the way the curtains moved slightly in the breeze. It was something Michael always did when he was anxious or conflicted, needing fresh air to think clearly. Tonight, that habit would haunt me forever. "He'll choose me eventually," I heard Sophia whisper, so quietly I almost missed it. "They always do." Those words spoken with such casual certainty, as if she had said them before about other men, other relationships she had helped to destroy, sent a chill through me that had nothing to do with the ocean breeze. I backed away from the door slowly, each step measured and silent. My legs felt unsteady, like I was walking on a ship in rough seas. The living room looked different now, tainted by the knowledge of what it had hosted. Those wine glasses, the candlelight, it had all been for her. Grabbing my suitcase and shoes, I slipped out of the apartment as quietly as I had entered. The hallway felt like a different place now, no longer the path to home, but an escape route from a life that had just shattered into 1,000 pieces. As the elevator descended, I caught my reflection in its mirrored walls. My face was pale, my eyes wide with shock. I looked like someone who had just witnessed an accident, which in a way I had. The accident of a life I had built colliding with a reality I had never seen coming. The lobby was empty except for the night security guard, who nodded at me with mild curiosity. "Evening, Mrs. Patterson. Heading out late?" "Early flight," I managed to say, my voice sounding strange and far away. "Business trip." But as I stepped out into the Santa Monica night, I knew this wasn't about business. This was about survival, and I had no idea how I was going to manage either. I spent that first night in a hotel near the airport, staring at the ceiling while planes took off and landed outside my window. The Holiday Inn Express wasn't exactly luxury, but it was anonymous, and anonymity was what I needed. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Sophia's voice. "He'll choose me eventually." By morning, I had made a decision. I couldn't go back to the apartment, not yet. I couldn't pretend to sleep next to Michael. Couldn't kiss him good morning, knowing where his mouth had been. Instead, I called my sister Rebecca in San Diego. "Lila." Her voice was groggy with sleep. "Aren't you supposed to be in Portland?" "Change of plans," I said, gripping the hotel phone tighter. "Can I come stay with you for a few days? I'll explain when I get there." Rebecca didn't ask questions, which was one of the things I loved about her. "Of course. Drive safe." The Pacific Coast Highway had never looked more beautiful or felt more lonely. I kept my phone off, ignoring what I knew would be increasingly frantic calls from Michael when he discovered I had returned and then disappeared. Let him wonder. Let him panic. Let him feel, for just a moment, what uncertainty tasted like. San Diego welcomed me with its typical perfect weather, 75 degrees and sunny, the kind of day that belonged on postcards. Rebecca's house in La Jolla sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean, all glass and clean lines that she had designed herself after her divorce 3 years ago. "You look like hell," she said when she opened the door, pulling me into a hug that smelled like coffee and the lavender shampoo she'd used since college. "Feel worse," I admitted, finally allowing myself to cry. We sat on her deck overlooking the Pacific, drinking wine even though it was barely noon. I told her everything: the early return, the voices in the bedroom, Sophia's confident whisper about Michael's eventual choice. Rebecca listened without interruption, her face growing more serious with each detail. "That calculating little bitch," she said when I finished. "And Michael, God, Lila, I never liked him, but I thought he at least respected you." 8 years, I said, watching a pelican dive for fish below us. 8 years of my life. We were talking about marriage just last month. He showed me rings online while he was screwing the marketing coordinator. Rebecca's voice was flat with disgust. Men are predictable in the most disappointing ways. My phone, which I had finally turned on, buzzed constantly on the table between us. Michael's name appeared again and again. Missed calls, text messages, voicemails. I didn't read or listen to any of them. "He knows you know," Rebecca observed. "He knows I'm gone. He doesn't know what I know. What are you going to do?" That was the question that had kept me awake all night. What do you do when the life you thought you were living turns out to be a lie? When the man you love is in love with someone else? When you discover you've been playing a game where you didn't even know the rules? "I don't know," I admitted. Part of me wants to confront him, to scream and throw things and make him hurt the way I'm hurting. Part of me wants to just disappear, start over somewhere else. And the other part... I was quiet for a long moment, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. The other part wants to understand how I missed it, how I could share a bed with someone for 8 years and not know he was capable of this. Rebecca reached over and squeezed my hand. "You didn't miss anything, Lila." He hit it. That's what cheaters do. They get good at compartmentalizing, at living double lives. It's not a reflection of your awareness. It's a reflection of his character. But even as she said it, I found myself replaying the last few months, looking for signs I might have ignored. Michael working late more often. New cologne. A sudden interest in going to the gym. His phone face down on tables. Password protected in a way it hadn't been before. The signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. My phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Michael. It was my boss, Jennifer, probably wondering why I hadn't shown up for work. "I need to call in sick," I told Rebecca. "You need to take time to figure out your next move," she corrected. "This isn't something you recover from over a long weekend." She was right. This wasn't a minor relationship hiccup that could be resolved with a difficult conversation and couples therapy. This was a complete demolition of the foundation I had built my adult life on. Michael hadn't just cheated, he had fallen in love with someone else. He was building a future with Sophia while maintaining the comfort and security of his life with me. That evening, as the sun set over the Pacific in brilliant oranges and pinks, I finally listened to one of Michael's voicemails. "Lila, where are you? I came home and your suitcase is gone, but your flight wasn't supposed to land until Thursday. I'm worried sick. Please call me back. I love you." The casual ease with which he said, "I love you," after spending the night with another woman made my stomach turn. How did he do it? How did he switch between the two versions of himself so seamlessly? Sociopathic, Rebecca said when I shared this thought with her. Or at least sociopathic tendencies. The ability to compartmentalize like that, to turn emotions on and off depending on the audience. It's not normal, Lila. But that was the thing that scared me most. Michael wasn't a sociopath. He was just a man who had found himself in love with 2 women and had chosen the coward's path of having both rather than making a choice. He was selfish and weak, but he wasn't evil. Somehow that made it worse. Evil I could hate. Weakness I had to pity, even as it destroyed me. As I fell asleep in Rebecca's guest room that night, listening to the sound of waves against the cliff, I made a decision. I wasn't going to run away, and I wasn't going to disappear. But I also wasn't going to be the woman who fought for a man who was already planning his exit strategy. I was going to be the woman who chose herself. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I was choosing myself from. I returned to Los Angeles on Thursday, exactly when Michael expected me to. But instead of going home, I checked into a boutique hotel in West Hollywood and began my investigation. If I was going to end this relationship, I needed to understand its full scope. I started with social media. Sophia's Instagram was a carefully curated collection of yoga poses, smoothie bowls, and inspirational quotes about manifesting your dreams. But looking closer, I found the clues hidden in plain sight. Photos from restaurants I recognized as Michael's favorites. A picture of her hand holding a coffee cup with a man's watch visible in the background. Michael's watch, the vintage Omega I had given him for his birthday 2 years ago. Most telling was a post from 3 weeks ago, right after I had left for Portland. It was a picture of the Santa Monica Pier at sunset, captioned, "Sometimes the best moments are the unexpected ones." Michael had taken me to that exact spot on our second date 8 years ago. Next, I called my friend Amy, who worked at a private investigation firm downtown. "Lila," she said when I explained what I needed, "are you sure you want to go down this road? Sometimes ignorance really is bliss." "I'm already down the road," I told her. "I just need to know how far it goes." Amy's contact, a former LAPD detective named Tony Martinez, was discreet and efficient. Within 2 days, he had a preliminary report. "Your boyfriend's been seeing this woman for approximately 4 months," he said, sliding a manila folder across the table at the coffee shop where we met. "They've been to hotels, her apartment, your apartment when you're traveling. It's not casual, Mrs. Patterson. This is a relationship." The folder contained photos that made my hands shake. Michael and Sophia at dinner in Venice Beach, walking hand in hand through Griffith Park, kissing in the parking lot of her apartment building in Beverly Hills. But the worst photo was one of them at the farmers market in Santa Monica, the same market Michael and I went to every Saturday morning. Sophia was laughing at something he was saying, her head thrown back in genuine joy, and Michael was looking at her the way he used to look at me, the way I thought he still looked at me. "There's more," Tony said gently. "Your boyfriend has been apartment hunting. He looked at 3 places in the last month, all in the Beverly Hills area, all with 2 bedrooms. He put a deposit down on a place on Doheny Drive yesterday." I felt the world tilt again, the same sensation I had experienced that night in the hallway. A deposit. First month's rent plus security deposit. Move-in date is set for next month. Next month. While I was making plans for our future vacation to Europe, Michael was making plans for his future without me. "There's one more thing," Tony continued, his voice even gentler now. "The application for the apartment was filled out by both of them. Joint lease. She's not just his girlfriend, Mrs. Patterson. They're moving in together." I closed the folder and pushed it back across the table. "Thank you, Tony. That's enough." But it wasn't enough. That evening, I did something I had never done in 8 years of relationship. I went through Michael's things. His laptop, his phone records, his email. What I found painted a picture of a double life, so complete it was almost impressive in its deception. Email threads between Michael and Sophia going back 5 months, starting professional and gradually becoming personal, then romantic, then intimate. Planning their future together while discussing how to handle the situation with me. Michael had told Sophia that our relationship had been over emotionally for years, that we were just going through the motions until he found the right time to end things. Reading that felt like being gutted. Going through the motions. 8 years reduced to a convenient arrangement he was too cowardly to end. There were also emails to real estate agents, joint bank account applications, and a saved draft of a breakup speech addressed to me. It was clinical and rehearsed, full of phrases like "we've grown apart," and "this isn't anyone's fault," and "I hope we can remain friends." Remain friends. After 8 years, after the life we had built together, after all the plans and dreams and shared experiences, he wanted to remain friends. The cruelest discovery was a text exchange from the night I had overheard them. "Michael," she came home early, "had to make up a story about work emergency. Sophia, this is getting ridiculous. When are you going to tell her? Michael, soon. I promise. Just need to figure out the logistics. Sophia, the logistics? Michael, I'm not a project you need to manage. Michael, you know what I mean. The apartment, her stuff, the breakup. I want to do this right. Sophia, right would have been not starting something with me while you were still living with her. Michael, I know. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to happen this way. Sophia, but it did happen. And now we have to deal with it. I love you, but I won't be your secret forever. Michael, you won't be. I'm telling her this weekend. This weekend. The weekend that was now happening. The weekend I was supposed to be blissfully unaware, planning our European vacation and dreaming about engagement rings. I sat in that hotel room, surrounded by the evidence of my relationship's destruction, and felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, sharp and constant, but it was joined by something else, clarity. This wasn't about me not being enough. This wasn't about Michael falling out of love with me. This was about Michael being a coward who wanted the security of what we had while pursuing the excitement of something new. He wanted to have his cake and eat it too, and he had been willing to lie to both of us to make that happen. But his time was up, because while he had been planning his careful, managed breakup, orchestrating his exit strategy with PowerPoint presentation precision, I had been planning something else entirely. I was planning to take control of the narrative. And tomorrow, when he sat me down to deliver his rehearsed speech about growing apart and remaining friends, I was going to give him a different ending to our story than the one he had written. Friday evening, I returned to our apartment. Michael was in the kitchen making dinner pasta with the expensive marinara sauce he only used for special occasions. The irony wasn't lost on me. He was trying to butter me up before delivering the blow. "Lila!" He rushed over to embrace me, and I let him, studying his face for signs of the guilt he should have been feeling. "I was so worried when you didn't answer my calls. How was Portland?" "Educational," I said, which was technically true. "Something smells good." "Your favorite," he said, gesturing toward the stove. "I thought we could have a nice dinner, maybe talk about some things." There it was, the setup for his carefully planned speech. "That sounds perfect," I said, settling onto the couch. "Actually, I have some things I want to talk about too." We ate dinner making small talk about my fake Portland trip and his work week. He was nervous. I could tell his fingers drummed against his wine glass, and he kept checking his phone, probably texting Sophia updates about the timeline. After dinner, as we sat on the couch with fresh glasses of wine, Michael cleared his throat in that way that meant he was about to say something serious. "Lila, we need to talk about us." "Yes," I agreed, "we do." He launched into his speech then, almost word for word as I had read it in his draft email. We had grown apart. The spark wasn't there anymore. It wasn't anyone's fault. We wanted different things. He would always care about me. He hoped we could remain friends. I listened without interruption, watching him perform this soliloquy he had probably rehearsed in the mirror. When he finished, he looked at me expectantly, waiting for tears or arguments or pleas for him to reconsider. Instead, I took a sip of wine and said, "You're absolutely right." His face showed confusion. "I am." "Yes, we have grown apart. The spark isn't there anymore. We do want different things." I paused, letting him process this unexpected agreement. "The only thing you're wrong about is thinking this isn't anyone's fault." "Lila, it's your fault, Michael. Completely and entirely your fault." I stood up, walking to the window that overlooked the courtyard where I had seen him kiss Sophia in one of Tony's photographs. "See, here's what you don't know. I came home early from Portland. Tuesday night." The color drained from his face. "Tuesday? But you said." "I know what I said. I lied, just like you've been lying for 4 months." I turned to face him, watching as realization dawned in his eyes. "I heard everything, Michael. Every word you and Sophia said in our bedroom, including her confident little prediction that you'd choose her eventually." He started to stand, but I held up a hand to stop him. "Let me finish. Because unlike you, I'm not going to lie or manipulate or play games. I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen." Michael sank back into the couch, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "First, you're going to move out. Tonight, you can go stay with Sophia or in a hotel, or in that apartment on Doheny Drive that you already put a deposit on. I don't care where as long as it's not here." "How did you?" "I hired a private investigator. I know about the apartment, the joint bank account applications, the 5 months of emails planning your future together while you were still sharing a bed with me. I know everything, Michael." He buried his face in his hands. "Lila, I'm sorry. I never meant for you to find out this way. I was going to tell you." "You were going to manage me," I corrected, "like a project." like a problem to be solved with the right presentation and timeline. You were going to control the narrative, minimize the damage to your reputation, and walk away feeling like the good guy who did things right. That's not, I do love you, Lila. This whole situation is just complicated. Yes, I heard you say that to Sophia. I walked back to the couch and sat down across from him. But here's the thing, Michael. It's not complicated at all. You chose her. You chose her 4 months ago when you first kissed her, when you first brought her to our bed, when you started planning a future that didn't include me. The only complicated part was that you were too much of a coward to end things with me first. Tears were streaming down his face now, and part of me, the part that had loved him for 8 years, wanted to comfort him. But I stayed where I was. I loved you, I continued. I trusted you. I built my life around you. And you threw all of that away for a 26-year-old who collects men like Instagram followers. She's not like that, he said weakly. Michael, she told you that other men want her, that she couldn't wait forever for you to figure things out. She's keeping her options open while you're burning yours down. She's smarter than you are. He looked up at me then, really looked, and I saw the moment he realized that this conversation wasn't going the way he had planned, that he wasn't in control of this ending. What do you want me to say? He asked. Nothing. I want you to pack your things and leave. I want you to stop lying to yourself about being a good person who got caught in a difficult situation. I want you to own what you did and stop making excuses for it. And then what? We just end. We ended 4 months ago, Michael. You just forgot to tell me. He sat in silence for several minutes, and I let him. This was his moment to process, to grieve, to feel the weight of his choices. It was more consideration than he had given me. Finally, he stood up. I'll pack a bag tonight. Come back for the rest later. I'll box up your things and leave them with the building manager, I said. I don't want you coming back here. As he moved around the apartment, gathering his clothes and toiletries, I felt a strange sense of peace settling over me. The uncertainty was over. The lying was over. The pretending was over. At the door, he turned back to me one last time. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. I know you are, I said. But sorry doesn't undo 4 months of betrayal. Sorry doesn't give me back the time I wasted planning a future with someone who was already planning his future with someone else. He nodded and walked out, closing the door behind him with a soft click. I stood there in the sudden silence of my apartment now, and felt the full weight of what had just happened. 8 years of my life were over. The man I had thought I would marry was gone. The future I had imagined was erased. But for the first time in days, I could breathe freely. I walked to the balcony door, the same door that had been half open the night I discovered Michael's betrayal, and opened it fully. The Santa Monica breeze rushed in, carrying away the lingering scent of Sophia's perfume and Michael's cologne, replacing it with the clean smell of the ocean. Tomorrow I would call Rebecca and cry. I would call my boss and explain why I needed time off. I would start the process of rebuilding my life from the ground up. But tonight, I stood on my balcony overlooking the city lights, finally free from a relationship that had been over long before I knew it was ending. Michael had made his choice months ago. Tonight I had made mine, and unlike his choice, mine was honest.